Rockford's home for Classic Rock 96.7 The Eagle. Good morning. I'm Double T, and celebrating the 40th anniversary of the BMO Harris Bank Center, also known as the Rockford Metro Center, taking a look back and gotta take a look and have a chat about the old Rockford Lightning days. Had a lot of fun with that team, and of course, if I'm talking Lightning, I gotta bring in the former head coach, Chris Daleo. Such an honor to talk to you again. Coach, how's it going?
Oh, it's an honor for you just to call me again. It's just, not only am I going to treasure my time talking to you, but I will also be buying a lottery ticket because I feel today's my lucky day.
So, Coach, let's talk about it. When were you with the Lightning?
Oh, well, I think I took over back as a head coach. I lasted 4 years, and I think it was 2004. I'd have to really check my records, but I was the assistant for 2, and then head coach for 4, and we were looking at 2003 was my first year there. We won 32-16, and then I stayed there as head coach 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006 was my time there.
So what brought you to Rockford in the beginning?
Oh, well, I was just starting out into coaching, and I lived in the area, and I wrote a letter to Mike Bonestengel, who was the GM at the time, just asking to volunteer to get my foot in the door and to get started in the process and work upon my coaching on that level. And he brought me in. Mike Majka was the coach. I worked as a second assistant. I didn't get paid any money. I remember I tried to sell a little bit, which I was not very good at, try to make ends meet. And I remember Bonestengel, we had Burger King coupons and McDonald's coupons and some pizza coupons, and I lived on that. He shuffled those to me, and that's how I really spent my first year as an assistant back with Rockford, and that's really how I got my start in the CBA.
Wow. So you just kind of volunteered, and that's how you got your foot in the door. It's amazing stories on how people get started in coaching.
Well, I figured, if they didn't have to pay me, it might be easier for me to latch on. And that's what happened. And then the next year, Mike Moshek wasn't retained. Another coach came in, and I moved up to first assistant, and that lasted a year. And then Isaiah Thomas came in, fired everybody, bankrupted the league, and that's when I went to go coach in college. And then Wayne Tempe came over and bought the Lightning back after Isaiah Thomas destroyed it. And then he named me as coach, and I was there for the remainder of my Lightning days.
Now, when you were an assistant, who were the head coaches at the time?
Mike Moshek was my first year, and then he wasn't retained. And a lot of that was because of he fought with ownership over players. And then my second year's assistant, Bill Lavery, was the head coach, and I was first assistant. And then he went off to Rockford College, and I went off to Barrett College, and when Isaiah Thomas came in.
I'm talking to Chris Daleo, former head coach of the Rockford Lightning. It's the 40th anniversary of the BMO Harris Bank Center. Now, talk a little bit about Wayne, the owner, because, he was such a fan of the basketball and of the team, and he did a lot for it.
Oh, yeah. It was his passion, but not only was basketball his passion, but I think to him it really was giving back to his community that he lived in and was a big part of. So it really was twofold. One was basketball, and then 2 was this is the biggest part of his community. And that was with Wayne. The main thing with him was, when I became head coach, he gave me a long leash, and he felt that I could run the team from the basketball side, like with his pocketbook. I wasn't going to overspend. I was going to respect any decisions, to go see him about decisions, how to play, what we should pay a player, to stay within the framework of the budget, and things of that nature. So those that was my relationship really with Wayne. There was a mutual trust there. He was going to give me a long leash, but I respected him enough to speak with him about the finances, about running his ball club.
Do you know a lot about the history of Lightning, when they started in town and stuff like that?
They came over from Rochester, New York. They were Rochester Red Roses, and then I can't tell you the years that they came into Rockford, and then they were owned by a bunch of owners. And then slowly over the years, the owners, went away, and then Wayne took it all over for himself. But for the years of that, I can't really tell you anything about that.
So that was part of the Lightning. Were part of the CBA basketball league. Talk about what the CBA was all about.
Oh, the CBA was a great league. Now for basketball people, you have the G League, which is like the minor league of the NBA. But back in the day, the CBA was the official minor league of the NBA, and it allowed people to come on in and play, be seen by NBA or be seen by overseas teams, showcase their talent, and then move up or onward and upward to other things. But the big difference for me was, versus the G League now, is, it allowed people like myself without a proven basketball resume, or allowed players without big basketball resumes to come in and really do good things. Where the G League now, they kind of take care of their own. It's kind of a good old boy network. They don't really look beyond a certain scope of players or coaches. Where the CBA was a little bit more of a renegade-ish, open, fair-minded system of players and coaches, and that's really what I liked about it.
Yeah, it seemed like when I think about it, obviously you had guys that were coming through and trying to get their next chance at the NBA, but there were a bunch of other guys that were just CBA guys, and they were the ones out there pushing and winning the games for the teams.
Oh, yeah, because now they wouldn't even have their chance to play because either they're a little bit too small or they didn't fit a certain pattern or a certain mold of player. But back in the CBA days, guys like Willie Sims in Grand Rapids or Ronnie Fields in Rockford, those guys, Barry Sumter in Quad Cities, those guys were career CBA guys, and they made their living at it, and the towns embraced them, and the fans loved them, and, they spent a good portion of their careers there. Like, as one of your favorite guys, Marshall Phillips, and one of my favorite guys, he played for me for 4 years, and he went overseas and stuff, but he would never get an NBA look. But the CBA really was able to embrace guys like that.
You brought up Ronnie Fields. Talk a little bit about Ronnie Fields. I think if you talk about the Lightning, you can't help but think about Ronnie Fields, what he meant to the team, and how you got hooked up with him.
Well, Ronnie, people ask me all the time about Ronnie, and if for those who remember Kobe Bryant, Ronnie Fields is kind of the Kobe Bryant of the CBA. Great offensive skills, good defensive skills, competed. When I came in as a head coach, he had gotten cut from the Grand Rapids Hoops for whatever reason. And then I came in and he played for me for all my years in Rockford and then 2 more years in Minot, where I left when Rockford ended. I went out to Minot, North Dakota to co-coach. So I think he was with me for 6 or 7 years. Not counting as when I was an assistant, but could score. He always came back and played for Rockford. He was a fan favorite. He was an electrifying athlete. Could score at any time. Could defend multiple positions, and but just never truly got a good solid look at the NBA for whatever reason. That's a documentary. Is why players such as that never got a great look.
Talk about some of the other players that you had play for you through those years.
Oh, well, the list goes on, and I still talk to many of them today. Live in Pryfum, I still talk to, Marshall Phillips, I still talk to, and, Teddy Dupay is running camps, and Sidney Holmes is selling cars in South Carolina. He has a family now. Brant Bailey is still living in Wisconsin. He played for me. It just was, it was great because I brought back players every year. And so that really helped, I think, with the fans to get to know players. It helped players play within the framework of my system. And I felt very comfortable with those players. Lawrence Nelson's another one I still talk to on Facebook. So, for those times, it was the best times of my life. I wish I could turn back the clock. And I wish when I was there I would have treasured them more. But I never thought it would end. I thought I'd stay there for the rest of my life, for the rest of my coaching career, and I loved every minute of it.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The fans along the scores table there. They weren't just fans of the fans in certain sections where they bought season tickets. They became part of your family, and you would talk to them about why did you play this or what, and it really took an avid interest in it, and it was a family type atmosphere on so many levels, and I loved every minute of it. Going on with you guys back in the day.
Oh yeah,
loved it.
We had a lot of fun, and that's part of what minor league basketball is all about. The NBA it's so serious and it's all about the money and everything. But minor league basketball, man, you could obviously the basketball is serious, but you can also have a good time and do some fun things for the fans and make it more of a show, right?
Oh, you have to remember when we brought out the ambulance for the support States Bozeman and Freddie Flash controversy. Oh yeah, that was probably one of my favorite times of all. When States Bozeman, he played for Rockford, and I talked to him on Facebook as well, but, I released him, and he went to another town, Michigan, and he lost his temper during a game, and he punched our Freddie Flash mascot after the game, after a loss. So Michael Neville and the front office staff came up with a great idea to show support for our Freddie Flash, and when Michigan came to town again, they brought the ambulance on the court, and Freddie Flash popped out of the ambulance with a big bandage on his head, and all the mascots from the surrounding area, there must have been maybe 25 of them, all came out to support Freddie Flash. I thought it was genius, and it was great. But those things you don't see anymore, our dance team was fantastic. They really worked hard, and they put on, everybody has dance teams, but I thought our dance team was great, and that added to it a tremendous amount to the entertainment. But things like that, like the Freddie Flash incident, the Russ You Suck incident, or not incident, promotion was fantastic. It just was, different things like that I think added to it, and I think fans really enjoyed it. But we were allowed that freedom to do those things, which you could never do again.
I'm talking to Chris Daleo, former head coach of the Rockford Lightning. It's the 40th anniversary of the BMO Harris Bank Center. And I remember one particular evening, you gave a young man a shot to dress up for the team and be announced. That young man by the name of Double T.
See? Things like that were fun. And that's what I really enjoyed, too. It was basketball. Yes, you had to win every single game and get to the playoffs and try to win a championship. Yes, I understood all that. But it allowed us to do fun things such as that, that you can't do anymore. And I think people now, looking back, I think people would have said, man, I wish Lightning was still going, just because things like that made it fun. And you had fun going to the game. And people can not only bring their kids, but also just themselves and just say, I had fun at the game today. And I know this player because he played last year. I know this promotion, things like that. And it just, we had a cult following, and that was great. I loved it.
And
I love it.
And it's funny you talk about that because, there's a couple of T-shirt places at Rockford that they make Rockford Lightning T-shirts, and I run into people all the time, and they're like, oh, man, I love the Lightning, and I remember going as a kid, or I would take my family, and it's total nostalgia for people of Rockford and great memories of back in those days. Yeah,
it just, it ran its course. I think when Wayne Tempe passed, that was a huge driving force to keep it going, when he passed with cancer. I think they had the battle with the Metro Center concerning quality dates when the Ice Hogs got going. I thought that was, that led to it. But really it was the passing of Wayne. When Wayne passed, the Lightning were done. Without that driving force and that guy to sit at the negotiating table to negotiate the dates, and that guy to write a check to cover the losses or cover the costs. When he passed, the Lightning passed.
Yeah, I mean that's it. When it comes to minor league sports, they're not a big moneymaker, so the owner has to be really passionate about it and love it. Otherwise, it's not going to survive.
Right. It just was. We kept our costs down where we could. We worked within the framework of whatever budgets that we had. You pushed hard for every advertising dollar that you could get. But really, it depended upon how deep your owner's pockets are and the dates that you can get. If you're looking at January dates of Mondays and Tuesday nights, no. But if you can get a ton of Fridays and Saturday nights, with your beer sponsors and people not having to go to work or school the next day, that was big. That was big. And we cherished those nights and worked hard for those nights and begged for those nights. The Friday nights, the Saturday nights, things that, and you got to have them. You got to have them.
And, you talked about some of the players and stuff, and I think that's another thing that really the fans appreciated is they had their favorites, and they weren't here one year and gone the next. You kept bringing guys back. But the also thing I think you guys did well is, you didn't try to just sign that big name for big money that was only going to come in for a little bit and then take off. You really picked players that, fitted your system, would fit in this environment, fit in this community, and it was something that really worked. And you didn't try to get a guy and try to force feed him. You found guys that could play the style of basketball you were looking for.
Well, that was a big thing. And, Dave Yeager coached the Dakota Wizards, and he went on to coach the NBA. But that was his big thing. Now, and we butted heads, and we competed every single year. But he maneuvered it with bigger-time agents for bigger-time players, and he made those connections with the sole purpose of using these connections not only to win games, but also using the connections for these players, for these agents, to get to the next level. Me, I was very happy where I was at. I really didn't focus too much on getting to the NBA, so I went with some guys that were under-the-radar guys that I felt comfortable with that could play within my framework of my system. Sidney Holmes, who played for us, is one of your guys, for a couple of years. He came from out of nowhere, but I knew him, and I knew he could play for me and what he brought to the table, where other coaches wouldn't even give him a look. So, the list goes on and on of players like that. Even Tay Dupay, who, before he blew out his knee, was a fantastic player for us. But I signed him for, peanuts. Sidney Holmes for peanuts, but they played hard, and people loved them. And Marshall Phillips, brought him back every single year. But I just didn't use those. I didn't have the big-time connections. I didn't cultivate those big-time connections with agents like that to get me to someplace else. But I didn't care because I was happy right where I was. So there's your difference.
It's like I said, it's the 40th anniversary of the BMO Harris Bank Center. Talk about playing in the old Metro Center building and what kind of home court advantage and stuff you had with the fans there.
Oh, it's great. You remember the Muffler Midas yellow balls, right? Muffler Midas, they were like yellow basketballs. They fit the palm of your hand, and the cheerleaders used to throw them out as part of the promotion, into the crowd. And then during one timeout, all the people would turn around and pelt the opposing team with them. So, that was kind of a traditional thing with Midas Muffler and the Midas Muffler basketballs. But that was a home court. That was something that we all knew about. I remember with you calling up Olden Polonies during the playoffs, early in the morning and waking them up. We had to play Grand Rapids hoops, and we prank called them on your show to get them, and so, it was just so fun. People could say it was kind of immature, but it was a lot of fun. We had so much fun with it, and I think that's what really, for me, that was great. Thinking outside the box, doing different things, come up with crazy ideas. I love that. The Runts You Suck, $1.99 every seat in that section, was a great promotion, which upset the front office of the CBA very much. But for me, I didn't care. We were having fun. And I was loyal to the people of Rockford, and I was loyal to the Rockford Lightning, so I didn't care. I got suspended, I think, for a game for that. But.
Well, I still get people asking me all the time, hey, what's Chris Daleo up to? So here we go. Chris, what are you up to nowadays?
Well, right now I'm going to shovel. I got a shovel because it's finally warming up. I was too weak to go outside in the cold yesterday to shovel, but, still coaching overseas. I was overseas in Thailand the last 3 years. And I'm their national team or their Olympic team coach as well as a professional coach for one of their clubs. But with borders closed and everything else, it's been kind of iffy if I'm going back. So I'm kind of twofold right now. One is I'm looking for a job here in the States, and then two, I'm waiting for the borders to open up. If nothing happens in the States, I'm going to fly back over to Thailand.
Well, very good, man. It was great catching up with you. Thanks for sharing some stories, and let's not make it so long, and then we talk again. How's that sound?
I wait anxiously with bated breath. My phone to ring with your name on it. So,
and before I let you go, I mean, what was your record with the Rockford Lightning?
Well, I can't say exactly what it is, but I will tell you the highest all-time winning percentage in the history of the league. I do know that, and I do know that I'm fifth all-time in winning percentage. I think the only people in front of me are Phil Jackson, George Karl, a Musselman, and I think then it's me or Yeager, and then me. So I'm right up there in the history books of not only Rockford Lightning history, but CBA history with winning percentages.
That's some pretty good company right there. Well, Coach, thanks so much, Coach Chris Daleo. It's the 40th anniversary of the BMO Harris Bank Center. We're talking Rockford Lightning on Rockford's home for classic rock, 96.7 The Eagle.